Right. Good evening to my amazing team members and to my teammates at the TEXEM program on strategic leadership for enduring impact during volatile periods. We would say this 4-week program has been truly amazing, and we are here to share part of what we learned as a result of being a part of the course. And so we're going to be sharing with you our case study for our assessment, which is on companies or organizations that have failed and what we feel they would have done and the lessons we can learn from them, and also more details into what we learned from our TEXEM experience. So I welcome you and I welcome my team members. Esther Ekoma is here. We also have Unyi Damola, our other team members, Titi Lokpe, Nathaniel, and Mr. Shola Adioye. Also members of this team, and it's such an amazing experience working with every member of this team. And so we're going to go right into what we have for you today, and we're going to unveil our case study for today's for this session, and it is the Silicon Valley Bank. And so, what have we heard about the current collapse with some of the banks in the United States? We had Silvergate, and then we had Silicon Valley Bank, that followed by Signature Bank, and more recently, First Republic Bank. And this clearly shows that there's a lot of things that have to go into every organization, and making every organization become to be able to be sustainable for the number of years they've been around. And so I would want to introduce the team once again. And yeah, I invite you to meet the team. That's myself, Akiolo Yobi. Next is Titi Lokpe, Nathaniel, Esther Ekioma, and Shola Adioye, and Oyidamola Abidoye. And so I'll write straight into what we have for you today. And this is what our presentation agenda looks like. We're going to be talking about the Silicon Valley Bank, and then we'll also talk about what Silicon Valley Bank would have done. And then we'll pivot on the strategies that we've learned. And then we'll talk about the barriers to leadership, and we'll talk about how to inspire followership and also actualizing your potential. And so, what is it about the Silicon Valley Bank? Silicon Valley Bank is a high-tech commercial bank, which primarily serves the technology, life sciences, and venture capital industries. Why I used the past tense instead is because the need for them to diversify this portfolio is needed, especially they trying to find their feet after the collapse. It was founded on the 17th of October, 1983, and it's headquartered in Santa Clara, California, which is the heart of Silicon Valley. SVB is known for its expertise in providing banking services and financial solutions tailored to the unique needs of startups, venture capital firms, and emerging growth companies. But on the 10th of March 2023, the bank was shut down by California regulators, and it was placed under the FDIC, which is the Federal Deposits Commission in America. And Silicon Valley Bank, currently the First Citizens Bank, had assumed the majority of the deposits and loans of Silicon Valley Bank. You may need to keep it afloat. And so, what did we learn from Silicon Valley Bank? What we've learned is one of the things we noticed was a regulatory failure, which was something that the bank didn't pay attention to because they were always looking for exemptions. So in a bid to reduce scrutiny from the Federal Reserve, the executive of this bank and other bank leaders lobbied Congress to roll back regulations that could have increased scrutiny on their bank size. The bank was growing, but they were not following the due process to be able to stay afloat, but no matter what comes their way. And the bank weren't going through an annual stress test when their asset was at least $50 billion. So what Silicon Valley Bank would have done differently was to carry out an annual stress test. In one of the, while we are preparing for this presentation, one of the things we noticed was Silicon Valley Bank didn't have a chief financial officer, and that was needed for them to be able to mitigate the challenges, to mitigate what they went through, and to stop them from collapsing. And this could have helped to maintain some level of capital and liquidity that may have absorbed the losses and made it possible to quickly meet cash obligations. And then one of the huge risks of the Silicon Valley Bank was they focused so much on a single sector, and this was a major factor in the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. Its problem started when there was a large increase in deposits, which was caused in startup funding. Diversifying the bank's portfolio across various sectors, industry, and geographic location, this would have reduced the impact of bank runs, especially for a hyper-connected bank like SVB. The bank could have had an effective governance and oversight structure, which was what I raised earlier. The bank didn't have a chief financial officer that would have helped them to understand the times we were in and how to mitigate the challenges they faced, And then establishing strong corporate governance practices and internal controls could have helped in accountability and mechanisms for oversight that can help and address potential issues before they blow over. And so these are the things we could learn. These are the things that Silicon Valley Bank could have done differently, and it would have helped to reshape our stories in the media space if this was done, say, 5 years or 10 years ago. Come to think of it, Silicon Valley Bank will be 30 this year, and sorry, not 30. Silicon Valley will be 40 this year in October, and for a bank like that, it clearly showed that apparently they stuck to the status quo and didn't know what and when they need to change. And so we now talk about the lessons that we learned. And one of the lessons we learned was that we have to be more flexible. SVB was focused on the status quo, that they didn't know when to make strategic changes. And this could be seen in terms of the regulatory failure. It can also be seen in the breakdown in communication, and can also be seen in their inability to diversify their portfolio before this blew over. And then secondly, stakeholders engagement. One of the lessons that we learned was that stakeholders engagement, you need to have an effective stakeholders engagement, which would have helped the bank to come out of the rabbit hole. And that is constantly informing people about the situation at the bank. The tendency for success is that when you're succeeding, you don't want anybody to see you as a failure. You throw the numbers out there. Our asset is worth 200 and something billion, but you've got issues, right? So stakeholders engagement is very, very key, from the employees to the customers, to the clients, to the startups which they cater for, and to venture capitalists, which play a pivotal role in the bank. And then thirdly is regulatory compliance. Adhering to regulatory requirements and guidelines can help maintain an organization's stability and reputation. And lastly, we learned that corporate governance is very important because it ensures clear accountability that can help identify and address potential issues before they get out of hand. And so, in the light of this, these are lessons that are important for a lot of organizations. They need to innovate, they need to grow, they need to be more flexible to know when to change. They need to make strategic changes for a sustainable future. They need to ensure that they are compliant on the legal side of things. They need for the organization as a whole to be properly governed, and they need to effectively engage stakeholders. And so I would be calling on my amazing team member, Esther, to take us through the next phase of our presentation. You're welcome, Esther, and you have the floor. Hello, Esther, can you hear me? I can't hear you. If you can hear me. Esther, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, so it's you have the floor now. We're going to be taking us on why strategy is pivotal to organizational success.
Oh, okay. I had thought mine was barriers to leadership, but okay.
Okay, so sorry about that. So let me just take this. I think this was part of what Titi Lokwe was supposed to take. All right.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so you can go ahead.
Strategy is pivotal to organizational success because strategy gives direction and focus. You can't talk about strategy and then don't think about focus, because strategy in itself, it gives us, like, if you set your long-term goals, it's easy for you to know where you're going. They say you have where are you going to, how do you get there? Like we had in the last class, where are you going to and how do you get there? So, and why do you even want to get there? These are the question strategic answers. And if you don't have these questions and answers in place, you're just going to be, roaming around and not know what to do. Like, it gives you the vision, it gives you the mission of whatever it is you're planning or your goals. Secondly, alignment and coordination. It means that everybody is working towards the same goal. They say if it's not written, it cannot be measured. If you don't have a strategy put in place, it's like you don't know what you're doing. There's no coordination. Everybody's working it. And to avoid that, there's a strategy in place. What is the strategy? Okay, the end goal of the business is to make profit. How do we make this profit? What style of sales are we implementing? Is it B2B? Is it B2C? Are we making a joint? Is it a hybrid between the two? So when we get this, everybody is in agreement and we're all working together. 3, adapting to change. Because organizations are a living thing, they grow, they move, they shift, they're not static. So strategies should also be put in place to ensure that for every stage of the business, for every stage of the organization, there is a long-term, short-term strategy to accommodate that phase that the business is at that point. 4th, stakeholder communication and engagement. This strategy serves as a communication tool to engage and align stakeholders. They need to know what we're doing. It's almost the same thing with having alignment and coordination. If you have a strategy in place, it's easy to direct people. It's easy to ensure that everybody is on the same, path. Everybody's working together, to ensure that these goals are met. And having this thing also helped effective teamwork. It helps effective communication and strengthens the relationship between both every stakeholder in the business, both external and internal stakeholder. I think these are the 4 reasons why strategy is pivotal to organizational success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther, for this amazing presentation. And so we're also going to be looking at the barriers to leadership. All right. So we're going to be looking at the barriers to leadership, and barriers, there are always barriers to leadership. You cannot, as a leader, you are likely to face that. You cannot escape from that, because these barriers is what shows the strength that you have, is what shows how much capacity you're able to build over the years. And so once you're able to understand these barriers, it helps you to know how to be a strong version of yourself. And so, number 1 barrier to leadership is uncertainty and complexity. Most leaders struggle to make decisions, especially in very, very ambiguous situations that seems out of control, and navigating rapidly changing circumstances and managing unforeseen circumstances. One of the things that we notice that leaders are find challenging is when they are faced with situations that they didn't foresee, that they are faced with situations that it was not part of their plan for the year. Just like COVID, when COVID it gave rise to a lot of businesses having to transform digitally. And when this business that couldn't transform digitally found it really challenging to move. And then secondly was our resistance to change. Leaders, but one of the barriers to leadership is resistance to change. One of the things they say, change is inevitable, right? Change is inevitable. You cannot want to be successful without changing. You cannot want to be the best version of yourself without changing. So being consistently and wanting to change have an effect on you as a person. So resistance to change from employees, stakeholders, or even the leaders can create barriers to successful leadership. And then the third thing is lack of resources. Limited resources can hamper a lot of things. It can hamper innovation, it can hamper productivity and growth, and also it can place additional pressure on leaders to optimize resource allocation. And so in situations where resources are meant to be used for a good purpose and is going to serve the organization, the leaders have to optimize so that the allocation can be well allocated, the resources can be well allocated. And then another barrier to leadership is challenges in communication. It is clearly challenging to convey information, to engage employees and address concerns. These are the things that highly engaged teams and high stress environments can cause cause these communication barriers in leadership. And then another barrier to leadership is mental fatigue. The pressures and demand of leading, especially during a time of crisis, can lead to stress, burnout, and reduced effectiveness. Most times, challenging times take a toll on leaders emotional and mental well-being. Another thing is the sixth barrier to leadership is expectations and pressure from stakeholders. Stakeholders do have heightened expectations, and this places additional pressure on leaders during challenging times to deliver, to be at their optimal best, and to be productive. And that could serve as a barrier because most leaders are not able to survive those expectations and that pressure in particular. And then another barrier to leadership is resistance to innovation. There's something I heard that says innovate or die. So it doesn't stop at you creating. It's also continues with you being able to move from pole to pole. And that's really, really important for any business. There is a tendency to be familiar with familiar with routines, and leaders are not willing to take the needed risk to move to next levels. And then the last barrier to leadership is the lack of support and collaboration. And one of the things I've learned in my leadership journey is when there is no support and when there is less collaboration, it causes cohesion within an organization. And most leaders are able to survive this, most are not able to. And one's ability to be able to survive either with the storm or without the storm would play a role in their capacity being built. And so most people have the strength for certain things, most people don't. So you can't blame them. And these barriers to leadership do have a short effect on how the world see the organization and how the world see you as a leader. And then we dive quickly into inspiring followership. And how do we inspire followership? Through vision and purpose. This is one way that leaders can generate enthusiasm and commitment from their team members. This is by painting a clear and inspiring picture of the future. Just imagine you having a business where you are not able to amplify the vision, the reason why you exist. And then another way we can even Jesus Christ led by example. One of the greatest apostles in the Bible, Paul, also said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." That is a sure way of living by example. And this is something that has to be embodied in leadership, that the behaviors, values, and work ethic has to be a part of the leader. That's the behavior of the leader have an exclusive role in leading the people. And so they also show how they want how they want to see in their team what they model. So as a leader, you have to model the right thing for your team to also model the same thing. And then another way of inspiring followership is building trust. Leaders must nurture the environment of trust. They must be reliable, honest, and consistent in their actions. When followers trust their leader, they are more likely to be motivated, engaged, and committed. Another way to inspire followership is being empowering. Effective leaders empower their followers by delegating responsibility. This is to show that you trust them by granting autonomy and providing opportunities for growth and development. And then another way to inspire followership is through value contributions. This is in a bid to recognize individual and team accomplishments, which creates a sense of belonging and encourages continuous commitment. Another thing we can look at is coaching. Coaching is important in inspiring followership. This allows the leader to help their team to improve their skill, overcome challenges, and reach their fullest potential. This can be done by providing feedback, guidance, and mentorship. Another way to inspire followership is through creating a positive culture. As a leader, you must foster an enthusiastic and inclusive culture that will promote collaboration and innovation. This definitely will lead to creating high-performing teams. And then lastly, is being adaptable. The thing is, when times of change and uncertainty comes, that is when leaders are most tested. And it also shows if the leader is adaptable. And as a leader, being adaptable is very key to lead the people, to inspire followership. Leaders will inspire their followers to navigate the challenges being faced with confidence and perseverance, and by demonstrating resilience and embracing change themselves. And so these are the ways that we can inspire followership as leaders. And so in this next point we are going to, which speaks into actualizing potential, we are going to be having Oyedamola Abidoye take us through the entire part of this presentation. Oyedamola.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ake. It is actually very important for leaders to actualize their potentials in the workplace. So I'll be talking about the various ways that one can actualize
Oyedamola,
potential.
the network is doing a lot. Your network is really doing a lot right now. Esther, is this something you can take for us?
Hello?
Yeah, is this something you can take? I think Oyedamola is having issues with mine.
Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, I will try. Actualizing your potential. As a leader, you have to be self-aware, know your where you are. So you can lie to everybody, but you cannot lie to yourself. You need to know where you are, at what stage of your personal growth have you gotten to. Reflect on what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are, and then develop it. Be open to constructive criticisms. If someone tells you, oh, what you're doing, you should try another method to do it. Don't close up. Try as much as possible to, take feedback from people and learn from it. Secondly, is clearly define and communicate goals. Like they told us in our class, it's not about what you say, it's what they hear. If effective communication happens when the message the sender intends to send to the receiver or send across is received exactly the way the sender intends it, that is when you say effective communication has taken place. So we should learn to define how we speak, our tones, your intonation, your words, be able to initiate them properly so people can understand and don't misunderstand what you're saying. Secondly is empower and delegate. Most people are used to doing everything by themselves. You claim, oh, I'm a perfectionist. If someone doesn't, if I don't do it, I don't think anybody can do it better than I am. Well, yeah, we understand that feeling, but then you're going to get burnt out. You get to the point where you can't do it. And then I remember the first class we have, the lecturer then says that most leaders are always in the operational stage instead of thinking strategically. So being at the managerial stage, like where you have to think strategic and do more brain work thingy. They are all stuck in, doing the operational stuff that you could easily delegate. So you spend more time doing operational stuff, and you take home work, and you barely have time for yourself, whereas delegate all of this and still have enough time to think about what you actually need to do, which is the strategy end of the business as a leader. So learn to delegate. Delegating, when you want to delegate as well, you look at who you are delegating to, what stage of preparation have they gotten to. So you delegate, bit by bit, until you have confidence in this person that they can, take as much work as you can without having to, micromanage or supervise them. Thirdly is nurture a collaborative environment. Um, Most people leave organizations. When you ask team members, oh, why do you leave? They say, I left because I couldn't work with my boss, I couldn't work with my line manager, I couldn't work with my manager. And sometimes it's not necessarily the company, it's maybe who they were working with or their fellow colleagues or stuff. So if you learn to, have an open door policy, where learn to accommodate feedbacks, don't shut people down, this to make them timid and not respond to you anymore. Learn to accommodate feedbacks, learn to listen when people tell you their needs or problems they are facing, because they are the person that wears the shoes and they know where it pains them. So learn to listen to your staff and make the workplace fun and easy for people to express themselves, their weaknesses, and learn. So last, okay, support and develop the team. Don't allow your team members to work in silos. um Everybody should know what the other person is doing, so you can be able to fill in for the next person, because we're all humans. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Somebody might turn up sick, somebody might, something might happen, and then the work has to suffer because nobody has an idea of what A was doing. But if we're working as a team, where I'm able to fill in your shoes, I know what you're doing, I can take up your job at any time. I can also allow you to go take a break or rest, maybe take a leave or rest, and the work goes smoothly. So we should learn to support and develop our team. Don't have this team where one person shines and the rest of the other person just supports. Because when that person that shines leave or something happens, you're going to have a very big deficiency on your hands. Second, the other one is recognize and reward achievement. So one of the things people really experience at work sometimes that they complain is, most Nigerian businesses or Nigerian companies have this thing where they do, it's supposed to be a carrot and stick, yeah, which is balanced, but they just do the stick only, you get. So they say, I don't want to praise them, so they don't think that it doesn't get into their head. No, when someone does a good job, it is necessary for you to say you did a good job, because the more you tell people they did a good job, it gives intrinsic motivation, and that's the best motivation. And you're like, yeah, because these rewards make you feel fulfilled, make you feel like you're doing a good thing. And when someone feels like they are doing a good thing and what they are doing is recognized, they are more eager to do their best. But if I do everything and nobody's saying thank you or nobody's saying I'm doing my best, I wouldn't even bother, because last, they're not going to say anything. I mean, even if I do left or I do right, they're just not going to say anything. So people don't want to. So it's encouraged that you reward people for their good jobs. Promote innovation and creativity. So if you're awarding somebody and telling somebody that they did a good job, please let people know what they did. Oh, Chiamaka did well. Chiamaka did a very excellent job by, retaining clients XYZ that was disgruntled. She was able to smoothen out the place. That helps. You understand? So you let people know what people are doing. You try as much as possible to encourage your team, innovation and creativity. Let them think out of the box. Let not like, oh, that's sorry. We don't take this suggestion. That's not how we do it here. No, it's time for change. It's time for people to know that they are even if the idea the person said might not be useful at that particular point. Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good idea, although it doesn't apply to this particular situation. I think it's something we should think about in the future. You understand? The person feels, okay, yes, this is good. I should try and think of more, cool ideas, for the task at hand. So we should learn to encourage people, promote innovation, promote thinking out of the box, promote, thinking like there is no boss. In fact, just let people be themselves, be creative, and like I said, learn to thank them for what they do. Communicate and align. So it's one thing. So what I think about this section is, so they say they've, for the first time in the year, there's a strategy or this is a target. Some companies, they just say, oh, management comes down to you. The target for the year for your department is 100 million naira. And then everybody just look for the money and everybody's gone. We need to have a culture or a behavior where we come back maybe every quarter, every month to ask, how are you doing? So this is what we had said we're going to do at the end of for this year. How are we getting it? Where are we? What the strategies we've put in place? Do we need to test? Do we need to change it? Is it working? What do you think is the issue? Can we talk about it so people can able to tell you, see, this 100 million you put for this year, I don't think it's achievable looking at the economy, or okay, we're going to achieve it or we're going to exceed it. These are the things you communicate and you guys align on the strategy you have, to better be on the same track and have a good understanding. I think that's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Esther, for taking us through this amazing part of the section, which is how to actualize the potential as leaders for our teams as well, as well as our organizations too. And so we're just going to share this conclusion from our assessment. In this assessment, we gave a brief history of Silicon Valley Bank, which is our case study for this assessment. As businesses are faced with different challenges, that creates uncertainty. It is important that as leaders, we know how to adapt to the challenges we are faced with. As we are preparing our assessments, news filtered in that another bank, First Republic, is the recent one to be hit in what seems to be a major challenge which banks are facing globally. Regulation failures, poor risk management, and not diversifying portfolios played a huge role in the collapse of XVB. This is a lesson for organizations in the world. You must continuously think of new ways to innovate, diversifying your portfolio, the clientele you serve, and in most cases, expand to other geographical locations. The Harvard Business Review added that the risk of a bank run would have been greatly mitigated if SVB had been one small piece of a large financial institution. This does not seem to be the case with Silvergate, SVB, Signature Bank, and now First Republic. Becoming more strategic in our bid for organizational success every step of the way has really great wins. I will leave you with this quote by President Reagan. It says, the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. And on that note, every member of our amazing team, Titi Lokwe, Nathaniel, Onyidamola Abidoye, Esther Ekoma, and Shola Adioye, we want to thank you for joining us for this amazing presentation. And we do hope that you love it. And we do look forward to you also sharing your perspective. And even if we didn't get some of our points right, we'd like you to point that out to us, because this is a learning curve for us, and we do appreciate you. Thank you for this awesome opportunity. We love you and have a pleasant day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night.